everyone, and the Creator's message will rise here. How's it all going today? On the very first video that we'll be putting up, we'll be covering basically the main topic of why I made this channel. It's something that's always bothered me since I was a kid, even before I was into, say, any of the texts of Judaism, or any of it whatsoever. I always found these passages kind of disturbing, as everything that would be said onto forth past this and claimed as some sort of religious text would be, by default, blasphemy and the work of false prophets. Now, before you get all up in a huff and a puff, I'd like to clarify that before the end of this video, I will be making some room for these extra and additional texts to be allowed around. It's just I want to clarify something very clearly. Deuteronomy 4:2 reads, "Ye shall not add unto the word which I am commanded you, neither shall ye diminish from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Adonai your Elohim, which I command you." It's pretty simple, isn't it? The Torah I actually keep isn't it's got two copies of the Torah. It's got the Samaritan Israelite version, and what I just read you was the Jewish Masoretic text right beside each other. And both the lines, whether it's one or the other, they're basically the identical same. I like keeping multiple copies and comparing the different verses. Because if every single book all says basically the identical same thing, even if there's been some grammatical changes over time, at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. They're saying identically almost the same thing in the exactly same way, inferring the same point, and, well, if they all say the same fucking thing, there's no reason to doubt that that's what it's supposed to say. So in the Samaritan text it reads, "You shall not add unto the word which I am commanding you today, nor take away from it, that you may keep the commandments of Shemma your Elohim, which I commanded you." Again, same thing. So why do we have so many books, let's say in Judaism? Or, for that matter, in Christianity? The whole New Testament? Or with Judaism, the Talmud, the Zohar, or any other sort of book that's been added on? Any of it. Why is it there? Why did we decide at some point that we could just, let's just expand the codification process here. I've never really been a big fan of it, and I don't think that there's room for it. For sure there is room for these books, but it has to be made absolutely clear what these books are. They're additions, they're commentaries, they're the works of men, and they don't really have too much to do with the Word of God other than they might help explain some things that you haven't been able to get out of Torah on your own. Now, do I think that these things should be codified along with Torah? No, absolutely not. That's my problem. What the fuck are you doing? Why are you adding things? Why are you adding to the word, which you haven't been given permission? Or Christians, you've added to the word and you've written out every single part that you didn't like. So, under that, I don't really know what you guys think that you're doing, other than taking something that you're not allowed changing in and switching it all around. Now, these other books a lot of the time come under a lot of criticism, rightfully so, because a weak mind will get lost, and they're dangerous. Simple as that. So if one of those books helps you personally to find something, good. But if you end up going fucking insane from reading the book, that's your own fault. You've been warned. Forewarned. Deuteronomy 4:2 reads that line. But then again, later on, in Deuteronomy 13, verse 1, I'll read the Samaritan version this time first. "Everything I command you today, you shall keep and do. You all shall not add to it, nor shall you take away from it." And in the Jewish Masoretic version, "All this word which I command you all, you shall be observed to do. You shall not add to it, nor you take away from it." That's one of the reasons why I like the Samaritan version and I like doing the comparative. It just reads a little bit smoother. Whereas if you were just to read that little verse there of the Jewish Masoretic text on its own, there's no way in hell that you'd understand what the hell they were trying to say unless you read it 15 times over and then stared at the wall for a little while. So 2 places in Deuteronomy, which is, let's be specific, that Deuteronomy is known as the Word of God. You could turn around and say that some of the other stuff, that's not all the Word of God. Because from what I understand, everything aside from Numbers and Deuteronomy, well, the stories in Genesis, at least, all those stories, they weren't stories that Moses just invented off the top of his head. They were stories that were already available while they were in Egypt. So they hadn't been collected and added on with the Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy in that sort of way. But for most of history, when we look at the literature, it refers to the word. If we're going to break it down and you want to get really picky about it, I don't think you should. I think you should just leave the fucking thing the way it is. Make it a little... Entropy is going to happen whether you like it or not, so why add to it? But if you want to be picky about it, at least Deuteronomy, it shouldn't be changed at all, which is all the laws, all the rules, the Mishnahs, what the Christians call commandments. I like to call them the charges. That's what you're charged to do. But that might not be the way that everybody wants to look at it. So, that's really what I want to cover here in the first video, is, there is room for these other books, but you might end up going insane reading the extra ones. Stick to your Torah. Study your Torah. And you don't have to keep 1 copy of Torah. You can keep many copies of Torah. Keep as many copies of Torah as you need, until you understand everything that's within Torah. And, even with the additional copies, you gotta learn different languages. Because each different language that one may have been written was written specific to that language, and translating it just into the language that you read may not work. There's so many different words that may not exist in the language that you're currently reading. That's a huge problem when you're trying to translate things from Hebrew into English. There is no comparative word. It drives me insane when I'm transcribing, and I understand why other people shortcut, but when you shortcut, it makes it even worse. Because you end up having to put out definitions of words instead of words. It makes your writings and your translating not so nice and neat, that's for sure. But that's the proper thing to do, unless you want to just simply use the word that's in the other language, and then, throw in the back what the actual definition is from the other language. That's another way to do it, but depending on the person that may be discriminatory, may not be their thing. Anyways, that was just the first video. We're going to be going through a bunch of different other things that have to do with just people that run around non-stop talking about God this, God that, do this, do that. There's so much religiousness, and you guys already got a guide. Stop with the religiousness. Just pick up the frickin' book, man. Pick it up, read it. When you're done reading it, go for a walk. Do some shit. Come back to it, read it again. And again. And again. And again. And if you get really bored of it, pick up a different different version of it. What do I mean by a different version of it? Well, you got Samaritan Israelites, they kept their version. You got the Jews, they kept their version. You got the Ethiopians, they kept their version. You got different groups all over the world. They kept their own little version of Torah or their own little version of whatever. Let's not bicker and argue about how they came about. But if, 9 out of 10 all say the same thing, well, I doubt that the one on the end is the one that's right. Just read it down. Anyways, if you like this video and you like the content, you think I should be making more, it's something you enjoy, send me a few shekels. All the links are up in all over the channel there. Good stuff. And peace out. Enjoy.